last week, or about a week and a half ago, I asked a question, and I asked people, I said, what is your definition of the word equality? That thing that gets tossed around so freely and casually and seems not to mean what a native speaker of the English language would mean when they used that word. User called mbravo00 said, by the way, my definition of equality would be men and women both being considered primates instead of the current situation where only men are considered primates. He doesn't say it, but the implication, of course, is that women are somehow separate, above the animal kingdom. They are, rather than primates and animals and human beings, they're creatures of magical and mythical ether, pure and good and innocent, which of course degrades their humanity if you buy into it. He continues, everyone assumes that males behave the way they do because they can't overcome their primate urges, but no one applies this logic to women. That's a good answer. The next one is from Econ Recon. Econ Recon says, equality can only be applied to law. Everyone should be held to the same standard if social cohesion is the goal of the ruling class. Other than law, there is no applicable venue for even considering equality. I will disagree on its face with that statement, Econ Recon. Mathematics is a field where equality has certain relevance. Pale Rider says, equality, when an equal amount of women occupy the highest earning / most politically powerful positions. I know, you're probably asking, but what about equality at the bottom? Workplace deaths, prisoners, homeless, victims of violent crimes. Well, what Pale Rider is talking about is equality of outcome. And I am not an advocate of equality of outcome either at the top or at the bottom. I don't want to see the same number of women dying in North Atlantic fishing mishaps or in construction accidents or any other of the professions where most workers die, which are sometimes called the death professions. I equally don't want to see an equal number of women at the top of social hierarchies. That is, I don't want to see it unless they earn it, unless as individuals, I don't mean they, women as a group, because women as a group can't do anything except be a group. But unless women as individuals choose to pursue careers in the top of business or the top of politics or the top of any field, and make the sacrifices and pay their dues the way the men who get to the top of all these fields make sacrifices and pay their dues. The problem with trying to attain this equality of outcome is that we want to just skip over the paying of dues, skip over the earning of high position, and just elevate women to the top position because they have ovaries or boobs or something, and that's stupid. And quite insulting, both to the people who got there on merit and to the people who are elevated there by quota. Sir Lamperouge's answer to the question of how do you define equality is equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. Simple as that. Very concise answer. Just Handed Over answers the question, equality, to judge and to be judged based on the merits of what one does rather than what one is. Raging Golden Eagle says equality is when two things are the same, and since everyone is unique, equality is a delusion and does not exist. It is something inferior in regards to a specific area. People preach to try to get a handicap in their favor. If two individuals are applying for a physical labor job and one is clearly stronger than the other, are those two individuals equal in that regard? No two people are the same, therefore equality is impossible. Conundrum answers the question of equality by saying equality is an idealized and unattainable state of equilibrium of value which exists only in math equations and in the minds of children and the naive. And Chris Douthit, yes, says, I think what feminists mean when they say equal is fair. Fair, quoted because it's different for everyone. They don't want people on an even playing field, they want them on a fair playing field. There are good arguments for the use of fair systems. We accommodate handicapped people with ramps and elevators rather than making them use stairs. Fair is not always as clear-cut as accommodating for handicapped people, though. As for what equality means to me, equality of opportunity describes it well. Equality of outcome sounds more like fair. So, when I asked my question about what was equality, I also promised that I would supply an answer from a feminist perspective of what equality means. And I guess I cheated a little bit. I didn't put the word substantive equality in front of the phrase. Because the source for this is an organization called the Women's Legal Education and Action Fund. They're a cross-Canada legal lobbying organization. They sound like a law firm. They're actually not. They don't provide legal representation to individuals. What they do is they interfere in court cases. I think they call it intervening. It sounds more benign that way. That is, they're not an interested party, except that they're ideologically interested in the outcomes of court cases. They were involved in getting Nicole Ryan off the hook for her attempt to hire an RCMP officer to murder her husband. Anyway, I called the West Coast office of LEAF, and I asked them what the meaning of the phrase substantive equality was. And the reason I chose that is it's all over their website, both the West Coast website and the Canada LEAF website, which I'll put in the low bar. Their answer to what substantive equality meant, well, I can tell you about it, or I can just play the call to you. I don't know what that is. Like, what does the adjective substantive change about the word equality?
Well, it's basically like it's the kind of equality that Canada has signed on to. And what it means is, like a formal definition of equality would mean that everybody gets the same thing. And substantive equality has to take into account historic patterns of discrimination and seek to allow the law to benefit everybody equally. So it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to get the same thing, if that makes sense. But that they'll...
Substantive equality means that not everybody is going to get the same thing because of historical patterns. Abuse or oppression? Historical. So, if my grandfather, or maybe my father, faced some sort of inequality, then I get a legal advantage. Is that how this works? That's called inequality. And it doesn't matter what happened in history. We live in the present, not in the historical period. This is the Canada-wide Women's Legal Education and Action Fund explaining to me that their use of the word equality means the opposite of equality. It's called substantive equality. However, they had another fucking gem in the call, which I gotta play for you. It's fantastic. They said that if I'm going to write about them, I need their permission. So obviously, if you'd like to write about them, or about substantive equality, or the Women's Legal Education and Action Fund, or if you'd just like to mention them in an article, you need their permission. No. Anybody who'd like a copy of that recording, send me an email at john@johntheother and put in the subject line of the email LEAF phone call, and I'll send you a share link for the download location of that file. And of course, remember, the first rule of LEAF is that you don't mention or write about LEAF. The second rule of LEAF is that you don't write about or mention LEAF. Thanks very much for watching, and have a great day.